What's up, plant fam? It is so hot right now. It is 31 degrees today, which is I think 80, 87, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's only September. Like, fuck, we're gonna have a hot summer. Today I want to go through my top 5 recommendations for beginner friendly plants. To me, there are 2 things that I take into consideration when recommending a beginner friendly plant. Firstly, obviously it has to be easy to take care of. But secondly, I think it has to be cheap and easily available. So if you do mess up, which is totally fine, everyone makes mistakes, even people who've been collecting plants for years and years and years still, you know, fuck up and kill a plant. Still mess up and kill a plant. So if you do make a mistake or something does happen to your plant, you can really easily go get another one. I will not be recommending in this video ZZ plants, snake plants, or pothos, because let's be honest, everyone recommends them as a beginner plant, and I wanted to shine a light on some other beginner plants. All of these are easy to find, easy to care for plants. First up on the list is Monstera deliciosa. So this is obviously a juvenile one, a very juvenile. As it gets bigger, it will develop the fenestrations or the splits in the leaves, but it's a little while away until this one does. You could find Monsteras, I think, at pretty much any nursery or hardware store. They're a really common plant these days. And you can very easily buy a bigger one with big fenestrations. You know, you don't have to just buy a baby one like I did. Really easy to take care of. I keep this one in a south facing window, which I live in the southern hemisphere, so a south facing window is low light, and it's doing just fine. But a good thing about Monsteras and why they make such a good beginner plant is that they kind of speak to you, if that makes sense. So you can tell when your plant is not getting enough light because it will start to pull and stretch out towards light. Also, new leaves will come in looking small and won't have fenestrations. So if that's the case, you know to move your Monstera to a brighter light situation. Additionally, they are pretty chill when it comes to watering. This one, I let the soil completely dry out before I give it a good soaking. And it's in a very well draining soil mix. So I have, it's about 1/3 store-bought potting mix, 1/3 orchid bark, and 1/3 perlite, and that gives it a nice, well draining, airy soil. Next one on the list is Philodendron caudatum, also known as heartleaf philodendron or Philodendron scandens. Now, I know I said I wouldn't be recommending pothos and that this looks a lot like a pothos, but it is different, and you can tell that difference when you look at the nodes and the way that new leaves come out. There are a few different varieties of Philodendron caudatum, so this is just like the plain green variety. And then I also have back here, this is the Philodendron Brazil, which, as you can see, has the yellow stripes down the center of the leaves. Some of these leaves, like this one, have more yellow than green. I'm a little worried it may be reverting back to the other type of Philodendron caudatum, which is the lemon lime philodendron, or possibly just the lemon one. I forget what it's called, but essentially it's all just that lime green color. I'm recommending this for the same reasons why I recommended the Monstera. Essentially super easy to find. This one I bought from Bunnings for only $10, which is, you know, a pretty cheap plant in Australia. They are tolerant of low light, but if you want them to grow quicker with bigger leaves, I would put them in a brighter light situation. That's kind of the case with most plants. Another reason why they make a really good beginner plant is they're very, very easy to propagate. So if for some reason you do overwater it or you completely forget to water it, you can take a cutting of the healthy part of the plant, propagate that, and start again. Which is why I think any plant that you can propagate easily makes a good plant for a beginner. Alright, the next plant that I have to recommend is Peperomia obtusifolia. Now, not all peperomias are easy to look after. If you watch my video about plants that I'm struggling to take care of, you'll see that there are a few peperomias in that video. But I firmly believe that the obtusifolia is the easiest species of peperomia to look after. This is just the plain green variety. I have here, this is the lemon lime variety. It's just, I think, a few cuttings of one. It's too hard to see now, but there is a tiny little new leaf forming. You might be able to see on the leaves, probably not. But there is actually, it's too hard to see in this light, but there is some dark green variegation down the center of the leaf. These are super easy to look after, like all of these plants. And I find the darker green leaf one is more tolerant of low light. Given their like succulent nature of the leaves, they can handle a fair bit of bright light. So you could really put this in front of any window, whether it's north, south, east, west, doesn't matter, and it should do fine. Another reason why these make a really good beginner plant is because they will speak to you, particularly when they are ready to be watered. So I just give the leaves, I got this from Nick Pileggi. He is, I think, the king of peperomia on YouTube. So if you want to find out more about peperomia care, go check out his videos. But he recommends when you want to check if it's to be watered, just to give the leaves a squeeze up like this. This leaf isn't squeezing at all, it's still really quite firm, which tells me that it's not ready for a water. This leaf does kind of squeeze in pretty easily, which means this one is probably almost ready for a water. Checking your peperomia like that is really good because these are very prone to root rot and do not like to be overwatered. As you can see, they are really a semi-succulent plant. The fourth species of plant that I have to recommend is Syngonium podophyllum. So this is the neon pink variety, and then here I just have this normal green variety with some interesting veining in the leaves. There are many different types of varieties of Syngonium podophyllums, which come in a variety of interesting colors. Now, where I live, Syngoniums are considered an invasive species, which I think goes some way to telling you how tough these plants are, and just the variety of different conditions that they will tolerate. They are really quite tolerant of low light. The kind of more colorful ones, so this pink one needs a little bit more bright light to maintain the pink color. And there are variegated varieties of the Syngonium which require even brighter light. But in general, the greener it is, the lower light that it can tolerate. Also, they're not gonna die on you if you miss a watering. I wait till the soil is almost completely dried out before I water them. They don't mind staying a little moist, particularly in summer. These are actually vines. As this gets longer, it'll start vining and trailing out. And when that happens, you can cut it below a node and propagate it in a similar way that you would propagate pothos or philodendron or other vining plants. It's a super easy plant to find and super easy plant to look after. So my last recommendation is not actually a species, it is an entire genus. In fact, actually, I think I have two genuses here. So my last recommendation is Rhipsalis. I bought it and it was labeled as a Rhipsalis, but I did some further research and it's not actually. It's a Lepicium, very closely related to Rhipsalis. They are a very understudied genus, Rhipsalis, and a significant portion of Rhipsalis species are threatened or endangered or close to extinction. So it's kind of understandable that not a lot of people know about the different varieties or how to distinguish between Rhipsalis and other jungle cacti. So I have another variety here. These are super easy to look after, obviously. They tolerate low, well, probably I would say moderate light. I have this one in a fairly low light situation, and it has put out all this new growth for me, so clearly it's doing fine. And being a succulent, they are tolerant of drought, so you don't have to water it an awful lot, but you do have to water it more than what you would just a normal desert cactus. I think these are super underrated houseplants, and I don't get why, because they are so easy to look after, and there's lots of really interesting varieties available. So those are all my beginner friendly plants. So if you are looking to get into the houseplant game and you're not quite sure where to start, would 100% recommend trying out any of those plants. If you have any questions about care tips, I know I gave some just really general care tips, but if you have any more questions about them, please leave it in a comment down below. I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have about plants. If you have any other ideas for good starter plants, please leave them in a comment down below so anyone else watching this video can get lots and lots of recommendations. I am going to go because my camera is overheating and I am overheating. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!